Peace, peace, peace. You are now tuned into the vault. This is your host, Sharif Ali. Just want to thank you for tuning in live. If you are listening in on a replay, just want to thank you as well. I want to start out as we always do, giving praise to the universe and the Creator, just for having us here another day, opportunity to do the good work, and come together as a community more and more. Especially if you're in the United States, it's a very unique country for us to have the opportunity to do business together in a free land, and just I'm so appreciative of it. Once again, you're tuned into the vault. If you are listening to this video, subscribe to the page. If you want to go back and listen to it again, please feel free to do that. Sharif Ali, SharifAli. You can find me on Facebook as well. The Vault community is on Facebook as well. So, and the website, if you all want to go look at past episodes, have them all on welcometothevault.com. You can get on our email list too, welcometothevault.com. Today's episode is going to be about unincorporated versus incorporated companies. I think that a lot of people don't know what is it that I'm going to be going over. I do want to address that what I'm going to be talking about is considered private information, but I'm going to point it out very clearly to you, especially in a public forum, how it's private, because everyone knows that there is a thing called a private corporation, but a lot of people don't understand that they are unincorporated. That means that they're not set up within a statutory or a domestic jurisdiction. These entities are usually called foreign entities. So I definitely want to address why is that, because I think that a lot of people don't understand that there's two types of families in the United States. There's informed families and uninformed families. There are people that understand privacy, how to maintain their privacy, how to own nothing, control everything, such as the President of the United States, Donald Trump, or there are people that do not know how to do that. So I'm going to be bringing the wood today. I'm going to definitely share with you all this episode some very powerful information. So we're going to start out where most people start out. We're actually going to go to the IRS website. Okay, this is how private families operate. They know what tax forms to fill out and which ones not to. So let's go to the IRS website, choosing a business structure. The reason why I'm at this website right now is because the average entrepreneur is going to open up a business and it's going to be incorporated. It's going to be within a state or a statute or domestic jurisdiction. So let's read what the IRS says. Here's the fact sheet. You all, when you go to the IRS website, you should put in choosing a business structure. That is exactly what I typed in, and that is what we're going to be going over. Okay, please forgive me for the long-windedness, but I have to go over this information because if you don't, you think that, guess what, there's only incorporated entities. I'm going to go to the state and I'm going to file my entity on the state level, and that's all good. It says of all the choices you make when starting a business, one of the most important is the type of legal organization you can select for your company. This decision can affect how you pay taxes. Do you see how they actually told you that in the beginning? So if you don't fill out the correct form or select the correct entity or a specific entity, that dictates your taxes. The entity you're in dictates your taxes. That's why Donald Trump doesn't have to file personal taxes, because he's in the correct entity. The amount of paperwork for your business is required to do, the personal liability you face, and your ability to borrow money. Business formation is controlled by the law of the state where your business is organized. Do you see that? There's many different states. There's foreign estates, and then there's domestic estates. There's unincorporated businesses, which are private corporations, and then there are domestic entities. They're called state-created entities. The fact sheet provides a quick look at the differences between the common forms of business entities. Do you see how it puts people in a general common form? It says the most common forms of business entities are sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations. It doesn't say what type of corporation. It doesn't say unincorporated corporation. It says corporations, very general. Limited liability companies. It doesn't talk about limited liability partnerships. It doesn't talk about any of those things. See, this is the information that's put out on a public platform. See, what I bring to the table when it comes to private trustee training as we talk about how to set up entities in a private capacity. And best rest assured, in this episode, I'm going to talk about how the people that you think are operating public companies, and I'm going to share specific names, are utilizing private unincorporated businesses, private unincorporated companies to control even their public companies, their incorporated companies. It says, while the state law controls the formation of your business, federal tax law controls how your business is taxed. Federal tax law recognizes any additional business form. And then it's got a comma, so that means it's almost like a period, but it's not. And it says the subchapter S corporation. It says all businesses must file an annual return. The form you use depends on how your business is organized. So I don't need to keep going on, because it's crazy how, people don't understand and know that there are things called unincorporated businesses, unincorporated corporations, and then there are incorporated corporations. Why is this information not getting to the public? You want to know why it doesn't get to the public? Because that's why I've set up private trustee training. It's because you have to be a part of a private community or have a private mentor. I've been privy to both. Okay? Is it illegal to do this? No. You want to know how private unincorporated corporations are set up? They're set up through contracts. You want to know what law they're using to set up their contracts? They're using Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution. They're not going to change that law because I'm talking about it right now. Article 1, Section 10 says no state, it's in part, it's more than a little bit in that part. It says no state will impair the obligation or the right to contracts. And each subsequent state agrees to that, except for Louisiana, because when they created these documents at that time, it was under French law. So Louisiana doesn't use common law. But outside of Louisiana, every other state utilizes the common law right to contract. No state will impair the obligation of contracts. So that's why this information doesn't get to the public. Because contract law is private law. I tell people that all the time. No state can impair the obligation of the contract that's set up. So when you're looking to do business and say, I want to do it in an unincorporated fashion or in a private capacity, you have to do what? You have to set your entity up through a contract, not through the traditional route of going through the state or some type of domestic entity. Okay? So let's continue reading. Sole proprietorships and corporations must file an income tax return. The LLC must have at least 2 members, except for some businesses that are automatically classified as a corporation if they choose to be classified for tax purposes as a corporation or a partnership. Do you see how they say you can have at least 2 members? But you also, it says except, you can actually just get it classified as a corporation. So for all you all that are utilizing LLCs, you can actually still have it classified as a corporation even if you don't have more than 1 member. It says a business with a single member can choose to be classified as a corporation. That was my last episode talking about that. Or it is automatically looked at as a disregarded entity, and it's not separate from its owner, and it's considered a disregarded entity, which traditionally is considered a sole proprietorship. It says a disregarded entity, the LLC, will not file a separate return. Instead, all income or loss will be reported on the single member's entity on the annual return, which is the 1040. So when I talk about these entities being pass-throughs, let me share with you how these entities are pass-throughs. See, you all are familiar with Bill Gates. You don't even hear about Bill Gates being the richest man in the world anymore. Why? Because he doesn't own the money that he's getting. He just controls it. You want to know how he controls it? He uses an unincorporated business trust. Okay? An unincorporated business trust owns the stocks that he has in the company. And now if the company that he has that's the unincorporated business trust doesn't own it, guess what? His foundation, which is a private unincorporated foundation, is controlling the funds. He doesn't receive money to his Social Security directly. He understands the difference between ownership and liability. He understands the difference between unincorporated versus incorporated company. He understands the difference. Okay, he understands the difference between public and privacy now. To own nothing, control everything. Let me share with you how this is how all the elite are structured. All the elite are structured the same exact way. Mark Zuckerberg, you all know he's one of the more current new billionaires. He owns nothing, control everything. As soon as he found out the information that I'm talking to you about, he put himself in a position where he doesn't own the company anymore. He set up the Zuckerberg Foundation. That is a private, unincorporated foundation. It's not incorporated. See, most of you all are familiar with incorporated charities. If there's a public and a private corporation, there's also a public and a private charity. The only thing is it just always has to be set up for the benefit of the public. But it is directed by a private individual, a private situation. It's just that simple. So I did my best to bring it to you all with what's an unincorporated versus an incorporated company, because a lot of people don't understand that these public entities are prevalent in the public, but private entities, they are definitely not circulated in the public. They don't even talk about it. Why? Because listen, public people are liabilities. They own everything. They own their house, they own their car. Why would I want to be in business with you if you're going to be a liability to the company? If you own the company now, if something happens, guess what? If somebody sues you, then guess what? They can come after the company. So that's why rich people don't do business, or wealthy people don't do business with the common individual. Why? Because they own everything. They don't control it. They're not in a position of limited liability. So let me go to a comment that I got. I want to thank you all for tuning in to The Vault. And this is your host, Sharif Ali. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to go to a comment that I was given. I think this lady is a tax attorney, but that remains to be seen. She commented on one of my posts, and she said, and I'm pointing this out because this is important for you all to know. She says, C corporations are not pass-throughs. First of all, who owns the corporation then? The owner is taxed for what they own. Correct? If you own something, you can be taxed on it. That means you're generating a profit. So it is considered a pass-through in the respect that a private entity, an unincorporated entity, can own that corporation. She said S-corps are. Sure they are. And so are LLCs. They all have to have an owner. That means they're pass-throughs because they're not the original creator. They are owners. See, people want to own everything. They want to own their corporations. You don't need to own it. An unincorporated private entity, an unincorporated business trust can own it. She wanted to correct me on the fact that S-corps, they file an 1120-S. Well, I'm just directing people to understand what tax forms that their corporations are supposed to fill out. So of course they can fill out the 1120-S, but I directed them to the 1120 for corporate in general, not specific to the S or the C or the LLC. She says the IRS never considers a corporation to be a disregarded entity. Unless if a person's company is considered a disregarded entity, they do not have a corporation. Once again, you all can go back and replay what is it that I pointed out on this episode about how the IRS says many things about it. You can Google now, and you really want to go directly to the IRS website and look at how they say that entities can be, you can read it for yourself. Choosing business structures. That is where I'm at right now. So when you want to say that an entity can't be classified as a disregarded entity and this, that, and the third, I am encouraging you all to go. This is the same place you're going to be filing your 1040. You might as well go learn how to file your corporation correctly. They the ones that classify the entity as a disregarded entity. Do I need to read it again? A corporation can be classified as a disregarded entity. The LLC will not be filed on a separate tax return. It'll be filed as the owners, the single member, on their annual return, which most people are filing as a 1040. So you all know that I do private trustee training. Private trustee training is for individuals that want to learn how to use unincorporated business trust and structures to actually go out and use those entities, and it can still own your public entity or your incorporated entity. That is perfectly fine, and we make sure that you operate at the highest level when it comes to those entities. So let's be perfectly clear with that. So I started trustee training because I wanted individuals to understand how private people are operating, so they don't feel like they have to be owning anything and can be sued for everything, get sued out of their estate, so you can pass on your estate. What happens when you die? Do you pass on your money and your wealth to your children tax-free? Guess what? Wealthy people are. That's how they're able to not have their children working successive generations, because they have unincorporated business structures working for them, not incorporated. Why? Because incorporated, it puts you in a jurisdiction, a different jurisdiction, a public jurisdiction, a state jurisdiction, a domestic jurisdiction. It's all about jurisdiction. When you go back and read the IRS structures, choosing business structures, it says right there, it says the decision can affect how much you pay in taxes. Well, where else does it say? It says picking a jurisdiction. It says business formation is controlled by the law of the state where the business is organized. Now, if you're not utilizing Article 1, Section 10 of the state, it says the law of the state, then guess what you're using? You're using the state's corporate law. Because they do have a law governing that, but they also do have a law governing contracts. And the law of contracts says no state can impair the obligation of a contract. That is what a trust is. An unincorporated business trust is a private contract. That's why I'm talking to you all about. This isn't uncommon knowledge. It's uncommon to people that are in the public. Did they tell you that you could utilize the Article 1, Section 10 of the right to contract? No, they didn't. They just said it's going to be governed by the law that it's controlled by. It's just that simple. So I pointed out to you all Zuckerberg. I pointed out to you all when it comes to Bill Gates. And there's many others. I can go through the list of them. All your big boys, all of your Fortune 500s, they're all set up with unincorporated business trust. Traditionally. Not all of them, of course, but many of them are set up that way. Why? Because they practice own nothing, control everything. They're rich. If you sue them, you know how many people are trying to sue rich people? Of course they're going to put themselves in a position where they can't be sued for anything. Their assets are put inside of an entity. So guess what? I will do an episode this week on if you don't have a trust, and if you're a W-2 employee, can you benefit from having a trust? Can you utilize our private trustee training? Yes, you can. You still have a family. Your family is a business. And I'm going to show you how all the elite and how all wealthy people are operating from just turning their family into a business. Their children's education is a tax write-off. Their groceries are a tax write-off. What else is a tax write-off? Their clothing is a tax write-off. Why? Because it's not their clothes anymore. It's not their groceries anymore. It's not their house anymore. It's not their cars anymore. They've given up all of that ownership. They've given it to the trust. This is the difference between unincorporated versus incorporated company. They understand the difference between how not to be liable, which tax forms to fill out, which ones not to. And guess what? We still hire lawyers. We still hire CPAs. It's business. This is what I aim to bring to my people. It's to understand the difference between public and private. I wish I knew this when I started business at 18 years old. But I'm not 18 anymore. And I understand the difference between public and private, unincorporated versus incorporated company. You have to understand that. It's the difference between knowing public and private. The difference between being able to be sued for your assets and getting all of them taken or not. That's how your president's able to sit in front of you in 2017 say, I don't have to show my tax returns. Why? Because he doesn't have any to show. Everything's inside of a trust. Now you can either be upset about that, or you can move forward with your life and get in operation in line with the fact that it is an unincorporated business trust that's operating, and that's why the state doesn't even have access to the trust documents that he has, because he doesn't have even a domestic trust. So when you want to go to a public lawyer and say, hey, I need you to set up a trust for me, traditionally they're going to set up a public trust. I've been trained by private trust managers, private trustees. We're private. We understand how to maintain privacy using Article 1, Section 10 as a private individual, not as an individual taxpayer, a public taxpayer. See how they call you public taxpayers? You have a public company, a public trust. We don't deal in those entities. It's not advantageous. So, if you all have any questions, I thank you all for tuning in live to the Vault. HFRN.vault@gmail.com as the email. Once again, the email is HFRN.vault@gmail.com. If you want to enroll and learn how to protect yourself, your assets, your family, become a private trustee so you can learn how to protect your estate. Whether you are an employee or whether you are just that person that actually owns a business. You know, you can take everything. I have so much to bring forth to you all. I'm so excited. Today I found a even stronger relationship for private trustees so we can further our education together. So I can, because when you start practicing what we're talking about, it's a continuing education. But I just want to let you all know that I'm doing my best and I'm bringing forth to you all always more private trustees that operate in this manner where we operate in a private capacity in the private community. And I look forward to you all joining that community and enrolling. Right now, we do have private trustee training. It's open until September. So we got a couple more weeks here before we actually, create a waiting list because there's quite a few people that are in private trustee training and just definitely want to continuously bring the information to you so you all can learn it. This is the difference, folks. This is the difference between an unincorporated versus an incorporated company. It's knowing the difference between public and private. It's knowing the difference in how to utilize contracts to do business in the public. Once again, Bill Gates don't need to be the richest man in the public no more. It's all going to a private, unincorporated foundation that him and his wife control. You think that foundation is not receiving money to pay for his clothes and his house and his cars and everything else? Yes. He doesn't own the stocks in the company anymore. His unincorporated private foundation does. And so does his unincorporated business trust. And it's the same thing with Zuckerberg. It's the same thing with Tesla, Elon Musk, and PayPal. This is how wealthy people are structured. Do you need to be wealthy to have these structures in place? No. Why? Because you have the right to contract unlimited. And that is what we aim to share with you all in private trustee training. So thank you, Stefan. I hope I say it right. Stefan L. Definitely appreciate you for tuning in live, saying what's up on the chat. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to give it another minute or so, but I'm doing episodes every single week. The vault for August is every single day, but every single week on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's the standard time every week is Eastern Standard Time. You all can come in and listen live. I encourage you all to get onto the chat and ask questions. Otherwise, you can email me at hfrn.vault@gmail.com. And we can do a consultation, or you can enroll in private trustee training, because that is what I aim to do. I aim to create a community, because that's what it's all about. It's about creating community. It's all about that's what private people are focused on. They're not focused on being individual taxpayers. They're focused on creating a community of private people that they can work with, a private network. And so that's what I've been able to put together, and I encourage you all to work with us, and I look forward to working with you all. And going forward from there. But if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this episode up, because I'm bringing episodes every single day this week. I'm going to do my best to bring forth my one of my business coaches, one of my marketing consultants, as well, even one of my forex business partners this week. Someone that knows how to deal in currency trading. There's a lot of people want to know how to pick up a part-time income on currency trading with the money that they have. They don't want their savings sitting in the bank, so they rather see if they can build more wealth with that. And I'm happy to bring forth those individuals. So be on the lookout for those episodes this week. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you all and peace to you all. Go after your dreams and achieve your dreams, because you deserve them, and your goals, and have a productive night and day. Talk to you soon. Peace.